Welcome to another episode of Jay's Garage. You know, Allard is one of the most legendary names in racing, especially in the early 50s, from, I guess, 50, 51 to about 54. And this car is an Allard J2X. This is not an original Allard, but it is built to the same exacting specifications as the original Allard. This is a modern car using modern running gear, but don't think kit car. It's not a kit car. Don't go into that. It's a horrible thing. You don't want to go there. This is a brand new automobile using modern technology and, of course, having the vintage look and the vintage feel. And the man responsible for it is right here, Roger Allard. Roger, come on in. Hi, Rog. How you doing?
Hi, Jay.
Any relation to the original Allard family?
No relations. Maybe some DNA there, but
okay,
no,
just
no
the same name.
relations.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I have to admit, I thought this was one of the old original cars when I first saw it. I mean, you've got the proportions and everything down perfectly. This car is built in Montreal, Canada?
It's built in Montreal and Champlain, New York. So
Okay.
all U.S. cars are coming out of Champlain,
I see.
and anything that goes into a container goes out of Montreal.
You know, it's interesting. A lot's happening in Montreal. Montreal now kind of reminds me of California in the 50s and 60s with all the hot rods and all the cars. I meet more and more hot rodders and motorcycle guys and all sorts of interesting things coming out of Montreal. So it's fascinating.
A lot of creative people,
Yeah.
a lot of energy there. Yeah.
Well, tell us about this car now. You know, when people hear a recreation, they think kit car, and that is not the case here, is it? This is a purpose-built automobile. It's not based on anything else, correct?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
We took basically a clean sheet of paper, or if you want a computer, and we
Right.
CAD the whole chassis to racing specifications, really.
Let's go back to Allard history. Now, Sidney Allard, of course, out of England, correct?
That's right.
He would build a car using just about any power plant you wanted.
Basically, you took off the shelf what was there.
Right, right.
And the J2X particularly, I mean, there were only, of the 83 that were made, there were only 2 that were identical. So you have a little bit of everything
Right.
in all the cars. We kept the same signature tradition of the American V8s for the J2X. And what we offer is the GM Ramjet 350 fuel injected. That's
Right.
a 5.7 liter. And also we have 2 versions of the 5.7 liter Hemi, Chrysler
Right.
Hemi, and 2 versions of the 6.1 Hemi. This particular one is a 6.1 Hemi, tuned out to 600 horsepower.
Now, when you say tuned out, now I know it comes stock with 425 horsepower. What have you done? I know it's not turbocharged or supercharged, correct?
No, it's not. Cams are different. And we also configured the intake manifold to look like a carbureted engine, so that it keeps the retro look to it.
Well, let's take a look under the hood and see what you got there.
Sure thing.
Just undo the straps. I know that engine. It's in my Hemi Challenger.
That's the one. It's the 6.1 Hemi. The truck version, which has the alternator at top, because the other one interferes with the rails.
I see.
This is a Griffin aluminum radiator with thermostatic fan. As you can see, we've dressed it up to look carbureted as opposed to injected. And we go the extra length that we wrap all of the shrouds for all of the wires are all the cotton shrouds.
Right, right.
Rather than the plastic stuff.
Cool. Well,
And
nicely
you have
done.
the brass plate there is from the Allard registry with the serial numbers. Still has the old oils from back in the UK.
Let's talk about suspension and braking. The thing that impresses me, I see you have the inboard disc brakes at the rear.
What we have here is we basically have a racing platform. To remove all the weight that we can on the wheels, we went inboard with a large 13-inch cross-rail Willwood 4-piston brakes.
And how was the Allard Club? I know the English get a little finicky sometimes when you
Very.
fool with their heritage. Are they? Have they seen this car? Do they like this car?
Yes, actually, one of Sidney Allard's engineers was down recently at the Thunderbolt Raceway in September and saw the car, and he was just knocked over by it. And basically, he said this is the car that Sidney Allard should have had when he was racing. It was his dream car.
So you have a 5-speed, and thank you for putting a proper clutch and manual transmission. This is some stupid paddle shifter. Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah.
And the proper Brooklyn screens.
Yeah.
And the workmanship is really terrific. Look at the dashboard here.
Well, the dashboard is basically one solid piece of aluminum that is laser cut. We do all the jeweling on it.
Right.
And we've actually produced our own instruments because the original Smiths, which were mechanical, were very difficult to maintain.
Right.
So we offer actually there are a lot of original owners who are asking us to supply them with their
And what
their
is the body
instruments.
made of?
Well, this is a composite material, and the resin is a high-end resin that's just basically used by the aircraft industry.
Okay.
And the bonnet itself is steel.
Steel, okay.
So it's we started off with aluminum, but the steel is was just too is more resistant.
Right, gotcha.
Now, this is interesting because we have a trunk here now that has, we can put 2 sets of golf clubs in here. The original was simply a small plate that you open with 4 Dutz fasteners where you can do a quick change on the Hellebrand rear end. But I negotiated this along with the cockpit extension with the Allard register.
Now, you talking miniature golf or regular golf? That,
well, not with the pom-poms and everything else, but we have.
You know, if you have this car and you're playing golf, just go play golf, okay? Forget the car. Just get yourself a minivan, go play golf. Forget about that. I must admit, I'm very impressed at the proportions. You know, a lot of times when people try to, quote, recreate a car, your panel gap is off. Everything is just, it just doesn't look right. You know, one of my favorite cars was the 1928 Auburn Bowtail Speedster.
Yeah.
And so many people copied that in plastic. I almost can't bear to look at it now because they're always off just enough to be weird. You know, when I saw this, I immediately assumed it was one of the original cars. And it's certainly done true to the Allard spirit.
The interesting thing now is that we have a 106-inch wheelbase, which is the same as the Z06 Corvette, so that at high speed it just tracks straight.
Right.
It doesn't fish down like a minnow upstream.
This is what they called in the 50s a hybrid car. Of course, a hybrid car today means gas electric or gas diesel. Back in the 50s and 60s, the hybrid was European chassis, European handling, European brakes and suspension with an American power plant, like the Monteverdi, like the Bizzarini. These are all used an American power plant because they were reliable, had a lot of torque, and you know, you could fix them with a hammer. That was basically the idea behind it. Now, if people are interested in getting one of these, how can they get in contact with you? You got a website?
Well, the website is very simple. It's the name and model of the car, so it's an Allard J2X.
Okay.
.com.
Okay.
And
AllardJ2X.com. Now, this one here is a customer car, correct?
Absolutely.
And you're on your way to delivering it to a guy?
Tonight, I'll be driving through the
Well,
night.
he won't mind if I go around the block one time. Wow, very nice. To me, this is what a sports car should be. You really don't need traction control and all the other stuff, especially for California, hanging out there in the elements. And it really is true to Sidney Allard's vision. It's just a big V8 with all the proper suspension pieces. And, you know, I've driven a lot of cars that are recreations or kit cars, and some of them are downright scary. This thing, very tight, very well put together. I love the classic dashboard. I love the toggle switches. As I've said a million times, there's nothing like looking down that long hood. Come on, it is more fun than like a Ferrari or one of those cars. It'd be a shame if it got lost and it never got to the new owner. And it's interesting how many exciting new cars and motorcycles are coming out of Montreal, Canada. If you've never been to Montreal, it's the most beautiful city in North America. Now, I know you're all waiting for some kind of burnout, okay? I'm sorry. This is not my car. I'm not going to do a burnout in somebody else's car. Because A, it's documented, and B, the guy will kill me. I'm just grateful to let me drive it. But boy, what a nicely balanced, nice handling car this is. This was the Ford Cobra of the day. Big V8, lightweight. And in fact, it might even be where they got the idea from the Ford Cobra. Boy, very torquey, all kinds of power. This is what I like, a very elemental sports car. You know, you're hanging out in the breeze, you can touch the ground. You've got modern reliability and technology in the classic look and the classic styling. I always thought these Allards were a great looking car, and they were hairy beasts back in the 50s. In fact, you can make them just as hairy now. Roger's standing over there, just taking the car right. Look at the worried look on his face. He's pacing. I've been gone for like an hour. Hey, new owner, if you decide you don't like this thing, you can't make the payments, and there's a problem, give me a call. I'll take it off your hands. Fantastic car. Roger, nice job. See you next week.